You know, a lot of people have been told in workshops and in webinars around the country that all that's necessary for asset protection is to establish a corporation or a limited liability company or a limited partnership. But there's more to it than that. Hi, I'm your host, asset protection attorney Michael Potter. And in today's installment, we're going to look at the 7 key essentials of asset protection. Let's start with that key essential of timing. You know, it's been said that timing is the difference between a hero and a fool. And we've certainly seen that played out many times, haven't we? And yet, people will often wait until there's a lawsuit already filed against them or just about to be filed against them before they even think about asset protection. To me, that's like waiting until your roof is on fire before you even think about fire protection and where your fire extinguisher is. It's a little late. Of course, the ideal time to set up your asset protection infrastructure is when your legal seas are calm and everybody still loves you. That's the best time to set it up because you're not acting in an emergency fashion, and therefore the courts will not later look back at what you did as potentially being fraudulent conveyance or fraudulent transfer in anticipation of a lawsuit. Now, sometimes people think that if they set up certain kinds of trusts and corporations and limited partnerships, that they don't have any need for liability insurance, and nothing could be further from the truth. You do need liability insurance. Perhaps you can change your deductibles, or perhaps you can change the type of coverage that you have, but you still need liability protection. That insurance might come in very handy one day, and it can be a key asset to have in the face of a lawsuit. It may very well be all you need. But if you have that, at least at the bare minimum, you are putting yourself in a much better position than you would be without it. Okay, let's talk next about layering. Layering is a key element because you can use certain layers of entities that will help protect the assets you most want to protect. I often use the analogy of layers on the onion, where you've got an onion and start peeling back the layers. Every time you peel one layer back, a chemical reaction begins to take place, doesn't it? And pretty soon you start to shed tears. Well, what we want is to have layers on your onion so that your potential adversary will shed tears of frustration because they can't get at the assets you have protected. So in addition to the use of the liability protection, which you definitely should have, what other kind of protection, what other kinds of layers are we talking about? Well, essentially, we're talking about 3 specific layers of protection. The first of these would be your outer layer, your operational layer of entities. That would be your corporations and your limited liability companies. Next would come the control layer, funded typically with a limited liability limited partnership as its key component. And it would own the operational entities outside of that, which would be your corporations and your limited liability companies. Finally would come the innermost layer, and that would be the use of various kinds of trusts, perhaps more than one, and using them in combination with one another, integrated with the limited liability limited partnership and the operational layers of the corporation and limited liability company, now you've got a much more cohesive infrastructure. Now, with those layers on the onion, next you want to be able to integrate them so that they fit well together. Part of the problem with so many planners is they don't properly integrate structures so that they fit well. They just assume that you can throw them out there willy-nilly without necessarily coordinating what they own, how they are structured and funded, and what jurisdictions are used. In reality, the better you integrate your structures, the better off you will be in the long run. Believe it or not, next comes tax planning. Yes, tax planning. Many times the way you plan your deductions and where you put those expenditures, such as into qualified retirement plans, can provide you with a level of asset protection that you can't get otherwise, courtesy of the United States tax code. So take advantage of it and put it to good use. A sixth key component of asset protection would be to maintain and protect your financial privacy. Not that you're trying to hide anything. You don't have anything to hide. You simply want to protect it from identity theft and people who would take advantage of you if they could get inside what you own. So what you want to do is use some things that will give you a much higher degree of privacy, such as the Privacy Management Trust. And our seventh and last component is to look over the horizon for the benefit of your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren, 2 or 3 or 4 generations from now. With proper planning, well-integrated planning, you can protect them from estate taxes, from lawsuits, and future divorces from their future ex-spouses that they haven't even met yet. Good planning is essential. Well, as usual, I've given you a lot to think about, huh? And you probably have some questions. We'll be glad to have a private consultation with you at no charge to sort out your best planning options going forward based upon your situation, not somebody else's. Give myself or my staff a call and let us sit down with you either in person or by phone or even by video conference. And we'll be glad to look at your situation and give you some recommendations. And then you're the boss. You decide how you'd best like to proceed. We'll lay everything out for you and then let you make the final decision. I'm Michael Potter, and I look forward to hearing from you.